Treating Trudeau's in-laws, I'm Brian Lilly with Rebel.media. We told you last week about the $25,000 that Canadians shelled out to fly a whole bunch of people, a huge entourage, as it were, down to Washington for the state dinner. There were 44 people in total. Now, it turns out not all of them were on the government dime, but still, Justin Trudeau's mother and his in-laws both were, something the Conservatives raised in the House of Commons on Monday.
Mr. Speaker, last week the Liberals struggled to justify the Prime Minister's massive celebrity-sized entourage that accompanied him to Washington. And we all know that our relationship with the U.S. is important and that high-level visits are beneficial. And we know that there are important issues to discuss, like perhaps the energy sector. But what we can't figure out is what expertise the Prime Minister's in-laws have and why he couldn't find room for the Natural Resources Minister.
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague knows full well that the Prime Minister's in-laws and Mrs. Trudeau herself were guests of the President of the United States at a state dinner. He should also know, Mr. Speaker, that it's the first time since 1997 that Canada has been awarded the honour of a state dinner at the White House. These members of the Prime Minister's family were part of the official delegation, and I would remind you, Mr. Speaker, that the President himself drew attention to Margaret Trudeau's presence there and her tireless work on behalf of those with mental illness.
Just because President Obama wants to see Justin Trudeau's mother or said nice things about her at the dinner, I'm not sure that necessitates the Canadian taxpayers flying down 44 people for a state dinner. But still, there were others on that list that were equally troubling. Liberal Party President Anna Gainey for a start, and Chief Liberal bagman and multimillionaire Stephen Bronfman.
Well, the Prime Minister didn't just squeeze out cabinet ministers for his in-laws, he did it as well for Liberal Party bagmen, and Canadians are disgusted that Liberal fundraisers went along for the ride. The Prime Minister's political friends were granted unprecedented access to senior U.S. officials. The Prime Minister used a state visit to help his buddies connect with Washington insiders for their own personal gain. In exchange for raising money for the Liberals, they were invited to come along to make contacts to further their own personal interests. This was clearly a reward for their political support. How can the Liberals justify this unethical behavior?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Again, Mr. Speaker, my friend knows very well that the two individuals to whom he's referring were invited to attend the event by the White House. He should also know, Mr. Speaker, that the taxpayers in no way contributed to the expenses of these individuals. All of their expenses at all times were incurred by them personally, and the taxpayers in no way, directly or indirectly, contributed to this part of the visit.
So, fine, Bronfman and Gainey, according to Dominic LeBlanc, did not pay or did not have the government pay to have them fly down to Washington. The government didn't pay for their hotel accommodations or their meals. That's all fine. But still, why were these people given prominence of place at a state dinner while James Carr, the Natural Resources Minister, stayed home? Wouldn't you say that natural resources is a pretty big deal in our bilateral relations with the United States? Doesn't matter if we're talking about oil, about the Keystone XL pipeline, or about the now expired softwood lumber agreement, something that Canada and the United States are busy negotiating as we speak. Wouldn't it have been good to have some FaceTime for the man who's supposedly at the fore of one of our most important industries? I would think so. But then again, I'm not the Prime Minister. I don't take that many selfies, and I'm not buddy-buddy with Obama.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.